What is up, everyone? This is BigPowner, and this is going to be the beginning of a series that is going to be covering all of the zones and basically making it so that you guys can determine what is the best to farm at any point in the league. The thing that I'm going to say is you should probably watch all of the zones. Um, this is only the second video, but I've done a lot of the testing, so I'm going to put these out pretty quickly, or the mass majority of them pretty quickly. But the other thing that I would like to say is check the notes because I'm trying to make videos that are going to teach you how to determine what's the best at what point in the league. The reason why is because in a lot of mechanics, what winds up happening is, something can be good for a moment, but then, a bunch of people migrate to it and it becomes not that good. And what I really want to do is be able to help players to be able to, profit off of stuff instead of, having players that go and invest and they jump into something and then, it winds up not being that great. And the profitability that I'm going to talk about in the video is going to be what the profitability is right this moment. The zone that I'm covering in this video is Lira Arthain, and it's going to be a zone that the way I have it set up for this video is going to be profitable pretty much from the beginning of the league to the end of the league. And the reason why is because of the stuff that we're farming. It's going to always have value. It always does have value, but how much value is going to vary some. Obviously, also we're going to be using Scarabs, so Scarab prices can affect our investment to return. Also, the Xana modifiers can affect profitability. So there is going to be stuff to pay attention to. I'm going to cover everything in the description as far as like figuring out how profitable it is for whenever you're seeing this video. So if you're watching it several months down the road or something like that, or you're planning out your next league start, it's still going to be helpful for you. Anyways, let's jump into it. So I want to cover the whole zone. And like I said, this is going to be a zone that's going to be really good from league start to league end. The main thing that is going to be different between the first couple weeks of the league to moving on to basically the rest of the league is whether you're going to want to be using the blight nodes. The blight nodes are going to help you out early league. But as blight prices go down, the maps aren't worth as much, the oils aren't worth as much. This zone is really not going to have as much value as far as running the blight nodes. So the best way to run this is going to be running it as a breach and einhar zone. So basically beast farming and breach farming. To make this the best, we are going to want to be also running in the precinct map. The precinct map is a pretty big key here to be making a lot of currency. Precinct is probably the best map as far as getting consistent currency out of everything that we have on the on the map. There are other really good maps. The reason why I like this map so much is because we have just a ton of good drops inside of this map. So we've got Abandoned Wealth, which is obviously really good. One card drop is like what 70% of an exalted orb or something like that. So that's a really good drop. We also have another really good one that is Saint's Treasure. Pretty big difference in the value of these two because we've got like 20, 50, like 100 and something chaos is what the Abandoned Wealth is worth right now, and Saint's Treasure is 28. So 56, so 112 chaos for the Abandoned Wealth, and 28 chaos is the value for the Saint's Treasure at 150 chaos value per exalted orb right now. So two really good things. The other thing is we have some other like gamble type items. The Undaunting can wind up hitting a headhunter. So that's good also. Basically a gamble card. Another gamble card, Jack in the Box. That's good. The Gambler, that's good. her mask, once you get past early league, and you've got this huge stockpile of sacrifice fragments, that's probably not going to help you much. The merciless weapon, I mean, not really much value there, but we have basically two really good drops: Abandoned Wealth, Saint's Treasure, and then we have a couple gamble cards that are always going to have at least some value. So this is one of the things that's going to make this zone so good. So as soon as you are able to, you're going to want to put all of your favorite slots to precinct. And basically, the way that I farm, farm with full Watchstones, all my zones set up. And what I try to do is to get a big stockpile of the maps that I'm going to farm with, and I rotate zones. How I rotate zones is you're going to have at least like a few different zones that you're going to be playing in. Ideally, you're going to want like a good 14 zone, a good 15 zone, a good 16 zone. So you can target all of those like different maps, and then they're going to kind of refill each other. And you'll be able to pick from different zones on the atlas. You'll be able to get, like your 3 favorite farms, and you'll be able to set that up, and you'll be able to rotate back and forth. I'm also gonna be covering a video on how to stock up maps, build up maps. That's gonna help you out. That's also a good currency generator. It's one of my top picks. Also, this is one of my other top picks. So you're probably gonna really like this one. The other reason why I really like this zone is because the Watchstones aren't expensive. To farm this effectively, we're going to basically just require a tier 1 breaches in areas have number percent increased chance to belong to Chayula. The important thing is this being a tier 1 and being 90% or above on all 4 stones. That's what we really want, because our consistent currency is going to be from us doing breaches. In a different league, if we don't have breaches on the Atlas, it's going to diminish the profitability a little bit, because we do get 1 extra breach for 2C, which is pretty nice because it's a really low cost, and it has a decent chance. I think I'm seeing probably about 1 out of 3, between 1 out of 2 to 1 out of 3 of the breaches per map are going to be a Chayula for me. Sometimes we hit really lucky, and everything's Chayula and it's awesome. Very, very rarely with 4 stones are you going to see a map that doesn't have any Chayula in it. Very, very, very rare. It's kind of like shocking when it happens, honestly, if you have four Watchstones and you're running Scarabs. So that's going to be really good. The thing is every single splinter of the Chayula is basically worth 1.5 chaos per. And a really bad Chayula breach is going to be like a little over like 10 splinters. So you're talking about like close to probably like 20C is like a bad one. A good one could be like, 30 splinters or something like that. So you're talking about like 50C there. And the reason why I say that is it's not exactly 1.5. I'm selling them for 180C in bulk. So it's more like 1.8 C if you sell in bulk, which, you may not be able to. You may have to sell a single stone and, try to get what you can for it, but you'll be able to get at least an Exalt for it, at least in the league right now. Like I said, I'm selling them in bulk for 1.2 Exalts, 180C. Um, so yeah, that's really good. So the combination of the breach farming, where I'm making consistently probably at least 20C per map, from my splinters, which if this was really early league, it would be even more, because all of the breach stones would wind up having quite a bit of value. Now these are pretty low. We're talking about like 12C for each one of these, and then the the ol is 45C, so that's still pretty decent. And then of course, we have 1.2 EX in bulk for the Chayulas. This alone gives us really good currency. The best buy for currency consistently is going to be, per price point, is going to be the polished breaches. I have been running the gilded breaches just because I've been doing high investment maps in the zone. I'm adding like full scarabs and stuff like that, so the extra quantity can wind up paying off for me. But if you're looking for the best return consistently from the map, like most return for investment, the polished scarabs are actually the winner. We'll go ahead and bring this up. The reason why the polished are going to be the best is because we have a value, a cost of 15 chaos right now on the gilded. For the polished, they're only 6. So the only difference between a polished and a gilded is one one breach. So we're basically paying, going from the polished to the gilded, we're paying an extra 9C. So I get 2 for 6C and I get 3 for 15. So I'm over doubling my cost, 2.5 times 2.5 times the cost to get one extra breach. We are paying 2C to basically have the same number of breaches, 3 breaches minimum, because we do have the chance to spawn breaches based off of here. But consistently we have 3 with the polished, which means it's only 8C for 3 breaches. On average, you're going to have 1 Chayula, which is then going to give you at least like 20C up to, like 50 or 60C. So you minus the 8C and you're making at least 12C just from your breaches. If you add in the other splinters, there's probably a few extra C there. That's why I'm saying minimum, you're making like 20C per map on that. Then we have the divination cards. What I've been doing on the divination cards, I've tried running it with gilded, but once again the cost is too high and the drop on the um on the divination cards just isn't high enough that I'm really over a long period of time not seeing the payoff from going between polished to gilded. Once again, we'll go ahead and look at the price points on this, and this is something that you can do when you are when you're determining what's going to be the most profitable for you. So we have 10C here, which honestly that's really not bad for divination scarabs, but the polished is only 2C. So the reason why I like the polished is it gives a 100% increased amount. The gilded is 150%, so 50% more, but it's 5 times as expensive. And if I'm just speed running a lot of maps, that extra cost cuts in quite a bit, because what we're going to see the most that's going to just be like a guaranteed payoff is going to be that Saint's Treasure, and it's 28C. So if I don't see a Saint's Treasure in 3 maps and I'm paying 10C per divination scarab, then I've actually lost 2C. So that doesn't seem to pay off very well. Obviously, if we're on a lucky streak, it could be paying off really well. But as far as consistent currency, the way that you're guaranteed to be making extra currency by doing this, basically every map, because even if we get some of those gamble cards are going to wind up pushing us into profit, even if we don't get the Saint's Treasure or the Saint's Treasure or the Abandoned Wealth. So my suggestion, if you want the best profitability as it is right now, would be polished divination scarab, polished breach scarab. You can throw in other stuff, but honestly, the way that I like to farm these zones is I like to build up a ton of the maps. You can even decide whether you want to throw sextants onto it. I personally suggest that you do sextant this area. The reason why is because we're not just looking for the breaches. You could just farm this for the breaches, just farm for the stones. You're like, at least 20C per map. I'm good with that. I'm going to do that. I wouldn't skip up though on going for the breaches. You can add the Awakened Sextants, it does add cost to it. It does slow you down a little bit, so it could be something you decide not to do. It could be something you do decide to do. The reason why it holds value in this zone is because the Sextants add a bunch of packs. They're not going to increase our Splinter earnings, but it gives us another thing that's going to be generating income per map, which is the reason why I like this. I like basically taking as many mechanics as we can, smash them together. I'm like, I got breaches; those are making me currency. With my 2C investment per map, I'm turning over like another minimum like 5 to 10C here, and then we're going to be doing beast farming. So that's going to be the other main thing that we're going to be doing. This is going to be adding, this isn't as consistent. I would say that probably over a big average, because that's kind of what I tested this in, was like a really big average. About 10C is what you're going to be seeing. Sometimes you're going to hit just like the better beasts and you're going to be making way more. Sometimes you're just not going to be hitting too many of the good beasts, and it might be a little bit less. Um, you'll see more of an average as you do like a lot of maps with this. So it was something that I didn't really pay attention to as like a per map type of thing, because there's just such a big variance in what we can be making for the beasts. The thing is that I will say is it's kind of one of those things that I forgot about it, and then I went and checked my bestiary, and I'm like, oh, I've got 5 EX built up in my bestiary, and I'm already in profit from my splinters, from all this stuff. The nice thing about farming Einhar in this zone, we can add him cheaply once again through Scarabs. You can go for the big invest, which would be to do the Gilded Bestiary Scarab. These are going to be more expensive. 7C for this, 5C for the polished, and I think, let's see. I don't remember what the, one second. But you can check this stuff to see what the prices are and decide. Basically, it's adding one guaranteed extra big beast for each one. Um, but if you run out of Einhars, it's a zone. Since we're doing divination and breaches, we have 2 more slots. Or even if you still only have the 4 slot, you can go ahead and add in Einhar with a Scarab. Um, and it is going to definitely add profit to you, because even if we're using these gilded ones with the 10C average, we're going to be wind up making 3 extra C per map, and it adds extra quantity. They can drop items. It's just another good thing, which the more quantity and stuff that we add to it, if it's generating us currency, it's also going to give us more chances to get those divination card drops, which makes it so that there's a really good synergy with everything that we're using in this map. Early league, this zone is pretty good for doing the blight. Honestly, this node really isn't needed. This one, this is needed, but this right here isn't needed. You could wind up taking and doing something else with 1 extra point. I don't know what you'd really do with it, but because you want this. um but the Mighty Hunter doesn't really help you that much unless you just like want some extra damage in there. But this extra chance here is kind of important. So I mean, you could put like 1 point somewhere else, and it wouldn't really matter that much. But I would suggest to set it up like this outside of early league. You might want to do the blight farming, because blight is really profitable really early league, and then it falls off. And this is definitely going to be the best way to set up the zone once you get out of that very early league, unless you're doing something like you love the running the blueprints and stuff. Then obviously you might want to farm the zone differently, but that's kind of like farming for something to then farm for something. So I'm not going to cover that. I don't like heist. If you want a heist tutorial, I'm not the man for you. Anyways, this is an absolutely excellent zone. You're probably like running everything. If you're doing your breaches, you're doing your einhar farming, and you're doing your divination farming, you should be making about 50C minimum per map on average, which means like every 3 maps you should be making an exalt, which is pretty sweet. A really good currency here. The other thing that I'd like to point out is this is a really low investment as far as the Watchstones. Like these Watchstones with the tier 1 are like under an Exalt, like 85C if you only go for the tier 1 Chayula. You could obviously look for other stuff on them, get nicer ones or whatever. But the main thing is just get that tier 1 Chayula above 90%, and you're going to be good. Under 4 EX investment to start out, because 85C, 90C, 100C, you're going to have like 3 EX invested there. Throw another EX into some Scarabs, and bam, you're ready to get going. And what you should get back from running the maps should keep you going and pay off your Watchstones very quickly. I did testing on this and turned profit really fast. I mean, within my first, I think like 20 Scarabs, I had paid off 100 Scarabs that I had bought and was already turning into profit. After like 100 maps run, it's generated me quite a bit of income and paid off everything in the zone. I absolutely suggest this zone if you're like I don't have a way to make currency right now. I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not making that much, or it feels like I'm just hitting my head against the wall or something like that. This is a really good spot to go. Low invest, get it going. Even if you don't have a buildup of the precinct maps, you can just do the breach farming and the einhar farming on any of the maps, and it's still really profitable because you're talking like minimum 20C per map on just the breaches. So you could just farm breaches in this zone if you don't have the precinct set up. Obviously, you don't want to be running divinations on just any map. So save your divination, save that investment for maps that actually have cards to drop. In this zone, it's really only precinct that I'm running divination cards. But I have played this zone because I ran out of precinct maps when I was doing my testing as far as the breaches, and I did go ahead and just run it, and I was still making really really good currency. The divination card drops are kind of like sporadic. Some maps I'll get like multiple, and it'll be like a nice big chunk. Other times, you could run a good handful of maps and not see one of the cards. But the splinters are really consistent, and it's going to make you good currency. So this is a big thumbs up for me. This is one of my top picks as far as farming right now, specifically in the league, because of the low investment cost and the high profitability. And Chayula stones are going to keep their value pretty well every single league. They're not going to fall much more than they are right now, unless just a massive portion of the community starts farming it, because people like to run them because they're one of the best ways to level up. Also, the divination cards, they can't lose value because they're exalt cards. You trade them in to get exalts. So it's always going to be worth the same amount in exalted orbs because they turn directly into exalted orbs. So great zone. This I highly recommend as a farming method. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this content, if you're not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions about this zone, do leave me a comment. Um, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Peace.